it has taught me patience. It has taught me to be still and to know that God is working, even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it, He's working. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. My name is Nicole Danielle, and so I told you guys that I had filmed the video and that it was ready to go, and it was, and I did, and I edited it, and it never would upload. So I was asking, God, why? And I don't know why. I wonder if it's just not ready yet. There's a few more things that I needed to add to it, and I have not done that yet. And I think it's an important message to be brought out, but I don't know if He wants it out there yet from me specifically. So, So it's been a few, this is the second week, right? And you may or may not get this video today, and you might, Abba willing, right? So I wanted to continue the story from the last time I came to you guys talking about the Sunday church that we attended. We did go back the week after, and I felt nothing. It's so hard to say that out loud, but in the spirit of all honesty, like, I felt nothing, and the preaching, I got nothing from it. And I'm like, what is my problem? Am I sitting here being like super judgmental? I don't understand why I'm here. It was very interesting too, because my entire family thought that we were going to a different church, and we got in the car and we started driving, and something was said, and I was like, oh, I thought we were going back to the other one from last week. And my kids were like, I don't want to, and my husband was like, sure, we can do that. And we got there with plenty of time to spare, and it felt like, I don't know, it felt like everything was going wrong. The check-in process was awful for getting my kid logged in. The week before we had been there, there was nobody in line, and they could have done it immediately. But then that week, when we finally decided to put him into the children's program, it took us like 15 minutes. The service had already started. We were kind of flustered, and we were the last ones, to drop our kid off, and it was super interesting. And I was sitting there, and I was listening to the worship was fine. The smell was okay. It's still kind of whatever, but it didn't bother me this time. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what we're doing. I don't understand this message. There was more football speak into the mix, and I was just over it. And I was like, okay, God, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to hear? And I got nothing. Nothing. No word, no be quiet, no sit still, no get up, no here I am, no nothing. And I was like, okay. And we went home, and my husband just had an experience. Everything that the pastor said was for him, and it was like that last piece. It was that last piece that God needed to say to him to make it all just kind of fall in place for my husband. He's been running since he was a little boy, and he got injured with his sport. He couldn't play a sport anymore, and he thought God hated him. And ever since then, it's just been just a mess. And through this past year and a half, he's been coming back, and he was broken and finally had surrendered in June of 2021. And I don't know how many months that's been so far, a year and some months. I'm recording this in November, and I'm not doing the math, I'm sorry. And it's like he's been changing and growing and evolving and learning and digging into scriptures. And like this Sunday was the last piece that he needed. He's like, it's not about me. It's not about what I want. It's God's going to protect us, and he's going to see us through all of it. And this is what he wants me to do. And my calling on my life is so much more crystal clear than it ever has been. And it was incredible. It was wonderful to just be able to experience that with him. And he's known when I met him. I guess I need a little bit more background for you guys. When I met him, he told me that he wanted to be a youth pastor. He wanted to be a deacon in the church. And that was his trajectory, where he was going. A few months later, we had a fallout. I was discussing divorce, and he's like, no, you're not going to divorce me. We're not doing this, because I want to be a deacon in the church, and the church doesn't allow deacon. They don't allow deacons to be divorced or remarried or just whatever. And that held us together, just sheer will. And through this process, it's just a long thing, but it's so incredible. Last June, he was like, I've been running for so long, and I've been blaming God for so long, and I don't want to do that anymore. And then through this past year and a half-ish, whatever math that is, God has just been completely renewing and restoring and digging in and pulling my husband back into belief and into faith, and just pouring out abundance on him, and giving him the keys and the tools and everything that he has needed for so long. And just my husband has just been so overwhelmed with God's goodness and God's love and God's mercy and God's grace, and it's just been incredible to watch. And then placing me on the other side, where I'm just like, God has been really quiet with me for the past couple of weeks. And I don't know what he's doing, and I don't know why we're here, and I don't know why. I mean, like, I knew that I was told to go to that church, right? I knew that I was told to go to that church. And if you guys haven't watched that video, you definitely should, because it makes this make a whole lot more sense. I knew that I was there for a reason, and I just had no idea what reason that was. I was thinking that it was for us to go and speak truth to this pastor, but really and truly, it was for God to speak truth over my husband, and for him to place us on the path of what's next. And it's really incredible. It's really incredible to see that. And so I guess I just wanted to pop on here and give you the rest of the story. The rest of the story being, like, he knows that he's meant for God's work. He knows that he is meant for ministry of some sort. He doesn't know what that looks like yet, but even 9-10 months ago, before this last piece fell into place, we knew that we would be in some sort of recovery work for the rest of our life. We knew that God would give people to us, and that we needed to know better. We needed to be better. We needed to be grounded and strong and faithful. And so just to see that and to see God work on Jared, my husband. I realize I haven't said his name yet in this video. For him to work on him like that, it's been incredible. It has taught me patience. It has taught me to be still and to know that God is working, even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it. He's working. I don't know if I've shared this with you guys yet, but when you're waiting on God, I don't know where this came from, a month ago or so. When you're waiting on God, you have to realize that you're not actually waiting on God, because God is waiting on people, because God is patient. He is so very patient, and he is so very good and so very kind to us. And he doesn't work on our timelines. And so while we're waiting on God and we're waiting for the next thing and the next step, he's actually working on the other person that is the next step to your piece of the puzzle. He's working on that person. And so while Jared was processing these things and growing and being poured into by all these amazing pastors, and by digging into the scriptures, and each individual devotional that we were working through, and each Bible reading that we did together, and each little fight that we were, having to solve and work through, each recovery meeting, each book that we read, that's great. And then I had peace, but God was quiet. And I questioned it a little bit. I'm not going to tell you that I didn't. And this chair. But I was okay with it. There was this overwhelming, I was okay with it. And then Jared was, maybe he was ready for it. But then we were waiting on the pastor for the message. And we were waiting on me to figure out what church we were going to. And then those people had to read my post on Facebook and reach out to me and tell me to go to that church. And then the pastor had to be ready to give that word. And then Jared had to be ready to receive that word. And all of these things just work perfectly together. And we're not waiting on God. God would love, I am so certain that God would love to pour out everything to you right here and right now. But he's refining us. And he needs to know that we know that he's good and that he hasn't abandoned us. And just because we don't hear him speaking does not mean that he's not talking. And that's why I sat down today. I heard him say to me, just because you do not hear me does not mean that I am not speaking. And it was beautiful, and it was profound, and it was incredible. And he's there, and he's working all of the time, at every second of the day. And just because it's quiet for you doesn't mean that he's walked away. So just sit in that and rest in that, and know that he's a good, good, good father, and that he's there and he's holding on to you. And it's like this incredible picture of you holding your papa's hand, waiting to cross the street. And you're just waiting. And you get to watch everything happen. And while you're waiting and you're watching and you're comforted by his presence, you have to be patient. And it's incredibly beautiful once you get there. And I'm going to say it one more time. Just because you don't hear him saying anything doesn't mean that he's not talking. And I love that. And I love that. It's so comforting to me. I do hope that you find comfort in that. Just learn to be okay with being quiet and letting God speak to other people, and letting God use other people to bring comfort into your life and to bring truth into your life. Just be okay with sitting in the stillness and in the quietness, knowing that he is doing what he's doing what needs to be done, knowing that he knows the perfect timing for your life and for the next thing, and knowing that he's got you. because he does have you, and he is working. And it's a beautiful thing to see God speak truth over you using other people. It's like, wow, he really does love me. Wow, you know, I really was just waiting for that person, and so was he. He really is just waiting for that one person, for everything to fall into place. Know that he is dealing with people like us, humans, imperfect, and sometimes really stubborn. And that's okay. It teaches us a lot of things. It teaches us a lot about ourselves. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I love you guys, and Abba willing, I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.